So once again, a surprise to absolutely nobody, there is a new colorway of Mercurial. However, the ones that I have for you today are a little bit different in that it is the AG Pro variation with the AG specific sole plate and stud pattern, which we're going to talk about a little bit more in this video. But what I have for you here is, of course, the Future Lab 2 Nike Mercurial Vapor 13 Elite, as well as the Future Lab 2 Nike Mercurial Superfly 7 Elite. Now, I have made videos in the past complaining why Nike, an American company, doesn't offer their AG Pro stud pattern on top-end models or even on takedowns within the US. Has that changed with the latest colorway? No, it hasn't. With that said, we're going to take a closer look at this new colorway, and I also want to talk a little bit about the AG Pro sole plate and stud pattern on these Mercurials, which, while they're made specifically for artificial grass, they do actually work really well as an FG AG layout. Fun fact, Neymar, who plays exclusively on natural grass, actually wears the AG Pro stud pattern on his Mercurials, and look how well he stays on his feet. Now all the Neymar fans are going to be mad at me. It was worth it though. So if you want to learn more about these, please stick around, watch the entire review, and if you are interested in either of these two boots for yourself, they are new releases. They are pretty much available exclusively in Europe, other regions as well, but I will have links on the review page to European retailers that have the Mercurial Vapor for about $270 US and the Superfly for about $290 US. Please keep in mind that the AG Pro variation is always an upcharge, even when it has been available in the US, so it's always a little bit more expensive than FG. And also, these European retailers do ship to the United States for fairly reasonable prices. So if you're interested in some AG boots, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. As far as extras go, both are top-end models, so they both come in the same gray and black Nike box, and both include the exact same string bag, which, as you can see, I think looks quite cool. It is a white string bag with laser crimson detailing there on the front in the form of the Mercurial M as well as the Nike swoosh. The black strings, nothing on the back. I'm still not going to give Nike a pass, as cool as this string bag is, because it's the same string bag design as the previous generation of Mercurial. They can redesign the boot, they can redesign the string bag. This gets a string bag score of 12 out of 18.3, which is totally fair. As for the colorway, I'll say that I think that the boots look a lot better in person than they do in pictures. Also, I just prefer the look of this kind of clean, simple colorway in vapor form rather than the Superfly with its collar. Not to mention, this is a white base colorway, so all of the exposed Flyknit that you have across the top of the foot as well as the edges, that's obviously going to stain really easily, but it's going to be a lot more noticeable on the Superfly because of the collar. With that said, and I know people will mention this, if you are using these on AG, because this is the AG Pro variation, it is kind of nice to have the collar because it can help to keep the rubber pellets from getting inside of the boots. The colorway itself is obviously a white base, but the Nike Skin top layer actually has this kind of pearlescent finish to it. So it's not necessarily a rainbow effect, but there is a very subtle kind of like multicolor shine to it, which does look quite good. Obviously white across the top of the foot, they've kept things simple there. The Nike swoosh is in a color called Laser Crimson, which is like this kind of darker, vibrant orange, which looks good. You obviously have the pinstripe with the Merc branding in that same color on the medial side. And then of course, just like the pink Future Lab 1 boots, the Future Lab 2 colorway features the exact same pattern, which reminds me a lot of what was introduced on the Mercurial Vapor 3. It's not quite the same pattern, but it's kind of reminiscent. It's obviously black in color, flows through the midfoot, and I just think that the simplicity of this colorway makes it borderline perfect. Also, check out this comparison. It's pretty good. Oh, my fingers. Did you guys hear that? As for the AG Pro aspect of this boot, historically with the AG Pro layouts, you end up with a different sole plate along with a different stud pattern, where when you change the sole plate on a boot, especially like a Mercurial, it can change the fit, it can change the feel pretty drastically. But Nike at this point have done a pretty good job of making this boot still fit and feel exactly like the FG version of the Mercurial, despite having what is a pretty different layout. Now, the first thing I'll say is that the base sole plate, which makes up the split sole design, you can see it here on the underside, is identical to the FG variation. So that's what's mostly providing your structure from heel to toe. You just don't see it through the midfoot because of the split sole design. You have a stud plate in the forefoot, a stud plate in the heel. You can see the one in the heel, pretty similar, even has the same cutout there in the middle, where the stud plate in the forefoot is about the same as well. It's a little bit more kind of chunky around these edges. There's just more material there for a stronger bond. It even still has this little kind of stiffener piece running through the middle that adds some thickness and does make the Soleplate feel a little bit more, as J-Mike would say, snappy. I hate using the same terminology as him, but it's the best way to put it. I will admit that the AG Pro version does feel slightly more flexible than what you have with the FG version, but it's a very subtle difference. And honestly, once you have the boots on your feet, it's very difficult to tell. It doesn't seem like the plastic is any thicker, but you will notice that it does have a little bit more of a significant lip here around the front of the toe box area where it bonds to the upper, again, just for the sake of increased durability. As far as the studs themselves are concerned, you'll notice that the studs are mostly conical in shape rather than bladed. The only true bladed studs you'll find from the FG variation are right here at the base of the heel, as well as the one base support stud in the middle of the forefoot. All the other studs are round in shape. They're pretty much FG length. I wouldn't say that they're remarkably short by any means, and they're hollowed out through the middle. The little black tip that you see is actually a slightly softer rubber material, where the stud itself does have a very slight amount of flex to it. Isn't super noticeable when you're actually playing in the boots, but the reason why it has that little bit of flex is to basically make sure that you don't have too much grip on artificial grass, which is actually a safety feature rather than a downside when it comes to overall traction and kind of performance. What you have to realize about artificial grass, and the specific type doesn't matter, 3G, 4G, 8G, whatever it is, they all grip pretty much any kind of stud. It's a very clingy plane surface. So when you have a bladed stud pattern, like you'd have on the FG variation of the Mercurial, when you plant your foot and dig into the ground to push off, which is why you have the studs for maximum traction, you don't have that freedom to twist and pivot. You don't have that freedom to slide. You don't really slip on artificial grass unless it just completely rips underneath your feet, which is relatively uncommon. So when you're running at full speed and you try to make a hard cut, because your foot really doesn't have any give, it's stuck in place, that could result in some pretty serious knee, ankle, hip, those are all the joints that I meant to say, but you could be seriously injured, especially if someone bumps you in the process of doing something like this. It's just basically increasing your risk of injury. It's not a guarantee that you'll get injured because there's lots of people that wear FG boots, and I've even seen people wearing soft ground boots on artificial grass. But with something like this, it's designed to provide adequate traction, but not too much traction. That's really the difference. So if Mercurials are your boot of choice and you also happen to play on artificial grass, this is really the ideal stud pattern that is going to decrease your risk of injury while still giving you that Mercurial feel. What's also nice about this stud pattern is that because of the still fairly FG inspired layout and shape of the studs, you can totally get away with using this on natural grass. It's not going to affect the performance of the boot in any way. It's not going to affect the durability either. It's obviously not going to be as aggressive a stud pattern as the FG variation on a natural grass playing surface, but if you prefer a slightly more traditional stud pattern with conical studs, that's exactly what you get for natural grass in the form of the AG Pro layout. Also, because I get asked about this a lot, I figured I'd answer the question. When you wear these boots on artificial grass, you will get little rubber pellets kind of stuck in the middle of the stud, and the same goes for wearing it on natural grass. It'll kind of get clogged with mud. The question that a lot of people have is whether or not they need to unclog the studs. If you want to, go for it. If you don't, it's not going to affect the traction. It's probably going to fall out on its own anyways, and it's certainly not going to harm the boots in any way. So as you can see, I've swapped out the stock white laces, which look really good, but they're going to get dirty really quickly, for some Orange Punch reflective SR4U replacement laces, which are a perfect match for the laser crimson Nike swoosh and just orange accents that you're going to find throughout the boots. It's also a great way of changing up the style of your boots in a very inexpensive way. If you're interested in some for yourself, the website to visit is www.sr4ulaces.com. There'll be a little pop-up on screen as well as a link down below in the description. So if you're interested in some for yourself, be sure to go ahead and check that out. Now, up until this point in the video, I haven't mentioned the upper at all, and that's because it's identical to the FG variation of the boot. Yes, the stud pattern and bits of the sole plate are technically different, but the overall fit, feel, and performance of the boot is identical to that of the FG model, which is definitely a good thing. As far as the upper itself is concerned, it's a Mercurial, so it kind of has that signature super tight wrap around your foot, but at the same time, the Flyknit upper is remarkably comfortable this time around. It's not overly stiff. although they definitely do soften up a little bit as you wear them in. But if you've worn Mercurials before, you kind of know what to expect in regards to overall fit, which means that it's not going to be an ideal football boot for super wide foot types, but at the same time, as long as you don't mind a tight fit, I think that they will be suitable for most people. And then as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these at my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and the length is perfect. So if you're looking to order some for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. Anyways, guys, that's it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. Again, if you're interested in the AG Pro variations of these boots, links to get them are down below, and also on the review pages, I will have links to the FG variation, which you can get in the US well below the normal retail price with some SR4U coupon code, so be sure to go ahead and check that out. If you have any questions, as always, leave them down below and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you. If you're not subscribed already, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.